Most INTJs, or certainly I feel this, have an overwhelming drive for mastery. Mastery over our inner world, our outer world, and our direction. We want to feel in control and aligned and with a deeper kind of sense of purpose. And more importantly, I think, capable of shaping a life that reflects who we truly are. So what is it that stops us from getting there? In this video, I'm going to show you a framework that helps quickly identify where in your life you're struggling to make a change without wasting years of time or energy focusing on the wrong thing. And I'll give you some tips on what to actually do about it. I'm an INTJ under the Myers-Briggs system, an Olympian, and a growth and leadership coach who specializes in subconscious dynamics. I build systems and work one-on-one with intuitive high achievers to help them get clear, grounded, and confident so that they can live a life that feels aligned and peaceful, not just looks successful. If you're interested in that, you can sign up below for updates. But let's dive into a framework that maps out the levels of change. And more importantly, I'll give you specific actionable steps that you can apply today in the order of which I believe will give you the biggest return on investment as an INTJ based off my own journey and what I've seen with clients. But first, what's the deal with change? Why is it so hard for us to change? So the short answer is that your brain wants to conserve energy and it wants to stay safe. From an evolutionary perspective, its main goal is just to keep you alive. So if you're here watching this right now, your brain's like, yay, I'm doing a great job. And since we're no longer like dodging lions every second day, and we're not really in this sort of survival mode, we've developed a mind. And our mind wants growth. It wants purpose and it wants expansion. And that's really where the conflicts start. Your brain says, we're fine, just don't die. And your mind's like, but I want more. What does it all mean? So every time you try something new, your brain will resist. And that shows up as agitation, irritation, and frustration. And that is normal. That's good. Just acknowledge it. Give it a high five. Thanks for trying to keep me safe. Now, what's the model? The 6 logical levels of change proposed by Robert Dilts provide a pretty powerful framework for diagnosing or understanding why our efforts for change don't always stick. So the levels are purpose, identity, beliefs and values, capabilities, behaviors, and environment. Each level will influence those below it. And while they all have an effect on each other, change tends to stick best when made at higher levels of this pyramid. So sometimes we will get stuck because there's a conflict between 2 levels. Change is most effective when you are working at the right level for that problem. So I want you to try this. Think of one area where you feel a bit stuck or that's not how you would like it to be currently. Pause the video and write it down. You can even add it to the comment section. You actually have to pause the video. Then with your problem that you've written down, try and see if you can locate which level that problem sits at based on the language you've used to describe it. So for example, I might say something like, I know that I can do the job, but I don't believe that I deserve it. So that would be a capability belief conflict. And I don't need to get better at the job. I need to update that limiting belief that I deserve it. So if I kept trying to work on the level of capabilities, I'd be wasting time because I already think I can do the job, but I don't believe I deserve it. So I need to work on the belief. That's why it's surface level fixes. And usually people will work at like habits or skills or behaviors. They often fall apart because there's a conflict higher up. So let's say you wanted to implement something into your routine, like getting up early, right? So you decide, I'm going to change my behavior on this. So you set an alarm every morning and you just can't stick to it. You keep snoozing it, you turn it off, whatever. You're not doing it. That's a behavior level change. But the real block you might have something inside of you that's like, I'm just not a morning person, which is a identity level issue. Or you might be like, I just work better at nighttime, which is a belief level. You know, you believe you work better at nighttime. So if you keep trying to change at the behavior level without addressing those really high level things, you're never going to be able to make it stick. Or at least it'll be quite painful and not very rewarding to continuously force yourself to do that. It will require a lot of discipline and things like that. So now let's just go through each level, starting with where I believe you'll get the biggest and quickest change. I'm not going to go right into the model. You can go to that here if you want to go into it deeper. So step 1 will be shift your most limiting behavior? I'm just going to go with perfectionism because that's what I struggled the most with for most of my life. So there's this parable that I really love, and it's called The Drowning Man. So it goes a little something like this. Like, a man gets caught in a flood. During the flood, these people come past with a canoe and they're like, come on board. And he's like, no, thank you. God will save me. And then they go, and then the boat, like someone in a boat comes along and they're like, jump aboard, we'll save you. And then he's like, no, thank you. God will save me. And then there's rescue helicopters there and they're like, grab the rope. And he's like, no, thank you. God will save me. And then he drowns, and then he goes to heaven and he's like, God, I had so much faith in you. Why didn't you save me? And God goes, I sent you a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. What more were you waiting for? If you don't learn to take action and recognize opportunity, you'll begin to feel like you're drowning. Maybe not in water, but in indecision and missed chances. INTJs in particular are really brilliant planners, but the real skill and the real leverage point for your personality is to get those plans into action. Waiting for perfect is what sinks us. I've got this really strong instinct to just do a little bit more research. Just like, maybe it needs this, maybe it needs that. Like, it's really strong, so I get it, right? But real world testing, even if it's imperfect, is what moves you forward. Like, literally, nothing happens if nothing happens. Personality Hacker says the highest leverage point for INTJs is developing our extroverted judging process. And all you need to do is ask, does this work in the outside world? Have I tested it in the outside world? When I used to overthink a lot, I got into the habit of going back through my planning to find the point of action that I didn't take. I had kept planning beyond that without really important real life information. And then it was like perpetuating. Like, I needed to take an action to know which way it would go or not. And because I delayed that action, then I was forecasting all of these scenarios that were just wasting a lot of energy, because if I just took the action, then I would know which way that would go. You'll bring out the best version of yourself when you get out of your head and into the world. So take action. Don't wait around to drown in existential angst. Step 2, update limiting beliefs and align your core values. A man was walking through a village and noticed a group of elephants. These massive creatures were being held by this thin little rope on their front leg. There was no chains, no cages, just this thin little rope. He was really confused. These elephants could easily break that rope and just walk away, yet they didn't. He noted a nearby trainer and he asked him why. And the trainer replied, when they were young and much smaller, we tied them with this same size rope. At that age, it was strong enough to hold them. And as they grow, they believe that they still can't break it. And so they don't even try. Beliefs are the internal rules that shape how we see reality, the things that we hold to be true. Many of us run on these outdated rules that have been passed down from our family, our culture, and just our upbringing in general, and even just like older versions of ourselves. We've mapped out all of these beliefs of how life is and how it's supposed to be. The good news is that beliefs can be updated, and INTJs, or I find that you're pretty good at this. I've never taken anything at face value, really, like a beliefs particularly. It goes through, quite a process for me to decide if that is what I believe or not. So if you recognize that something no longer makes sense, it's actually quite easy to let it go and update it with something that makes more sense. So I've got a free tool below to help you identify limiting beliefs. You should use it. Now, values. You've probably heard this one. A man climbs the corporate ladder. He's got money, success, status, all those yummy things. But once he gets to the top, he realizes that ladder was maybe leaning against the wrong wall. He valued things like freedom, authenticity, family, but he had traded all three of those for someone else's version of success. Values are generalizations about things that are important to us, things that matter most. And we all have an inherent sense of core values. They're all different to each other, though most personalities will have similar ones, though they are ranked personally for you in a different order. So like which value is on a higher level of importance. If you don't know what your values are, especially as an INTJ, everything will just start to feel like a lot of hard work. You can grab my free values worksheet below. Step 3, expand your capabilities. I put this third because INTJs usually excel here, but there are 2 tips that I want to give you. Number 1 would be treat everything as a learnable skill. Feeling misunderstood? Learn the skill of being understood. Feeling lonely? Learn the skill of connection. Are you overthinking? Learn how to think consciously and intentionally. Reframe every stuck area as something that you can get better at, that you can learn how to do. It doesn't mean that it will be easy. It just means that there is a way forward. And the second tip is drop the I'll figure it out alone mindset. Self-reliance is great until it wastes time. You don't know what you don't know, right? And that's okay. It's okay not to know things. So learn from people who've done it and done it very well. Don't learn from people who haven't done it very well. And stop trying to work it out alone. 2 books here I would recommend. Who Not How and 10x is Easier Than 2x by Dan Sullivan. Step 4. Upgrade your environment. You can be the best version of yourself on paper. You can be driven. You can be thoughtful. You can be capable. But if you are planted in the wrong environment, none of that gets to come through properly. If you think about it like this, if you imagine a seed, even the strongest seeds and the most resilient seeds, if they're not planted in the right conditions, the right soil, sunlight, water to grow, they're not going to do well. Some of them might grow into something, but it's going to be limited. They're not going to thrive, right? You don't blame the seed if it doesn't happen to thrive in dry, toxic soil. You look at the environment that it's in. And I think this gets missed a lot, especially for INTJs. We tend to internalize it. We think maybe we're not focused, maybe we're not disciplined enough, maybe we're just not as motivated as we used to be. But what if you've just outgrown the space that you're in? Or maybe it just never was a right fit in the first place. You don't need a loud social network or a hyper-stimulating environment, but you do need structure, you need clean inputs and clear systems, and you need a space that supports who you're trying to become. For me, changing environments has usually been the most logical move, definitely not the most emotional one. Like I don't tend to be that fazed by leaving people or places behind. The thing that does get to me is the overwhelm of dealing with managing a bunch of moving parts all at once when you do have to sort of change that environment that you're in. But if I decide that something is no longer right, I will move because I know that I won't grow in stale conditions. But that doesn't mean that it's easy to do. If your environment is constantly making you question yourself, it might not be the right one for you, and it might be time to upgrade the greenhouse. Step number 5, evolve your identity. Don't use your type as an excuse. It can be really easy to find typology and being an INTJ, and it explains so much and it makes you feel so seen and understood, and then you're like, that's who I am, that's what I'm like. Dr. Dario Nardi says, the magic in type is in the development, not in the description. Catch yourself anytime that you say anything along the lines of, I'm just not good at, because I'm an INTJ, I can't do this, anything along those lines. All you need to do is add the word naturally. So naturally, I tend to struggle with expressing my emotions. Naturally, I'm not very good at articulating what's going through my head. Naturally, I struggle to connect with others, or naturally, I struggle to understand others. When you add the word naturally, it suddenly gives your brain a little bit of room to start problem solving. So just because you're naturally not good at something, it doesn't mean that you can't get better at it and develop that skill and capabilities like we were talking about earlier. So that tiny shift opens your mind to possibility and problem solving. Lastly, purpose. I'm not going to dive into purpose here because it's a deeper topic, but I will say this. My purpose has become growth and integration, improving myself and helping others do the same, because when you do that, I think the world gets better too. If you're feeling restless with something that's technically working kind of on paper or to the outside world, you can check out this next video. I think you might find it helpful.